Hello again. This is probably the last example I'm going to go through with y'all. It's number 20 on your review. So it says solve for x. And we've got this negative 10 times the square root of x minus 10 equals negative 60. So let's go take a closer look at that. All right, so we're solving for x, so that means we want to know what does x equal. Notice that our x is inside of a grouping symbol. It's inside of a radical. So we need to isolate that radical, and then we can work on using the inverse operation to undo that radical. But first, the radical has to be isolated. So there's this negative 10 in front of the radical. So notice the negative sign goes with the 10. It's not in between the 10 and the radical. So that means this 10 is negative, and it's being multiplied by that radical term. So we need to use inverse operations to reverse that multiplication of negative 10. So we'll divide both sides by negative 10. We're not adding 10 because 10 is not being subtracted. It's just being multiplied. Okay, so here, negative 10 divided by negative 10 cancels out. Well, it equals 1, which is positive 1. And then over here, negative 60 divided by negative 10, that's a negative divided by a negative. It's going to give me positive 6. All right, so now what I've got is the square root of x minus 10 equals positive 6. So this is one of those times when you want to check if there's any red flags. We have the radical isolated, and it's equal to a positive number. So our solution will probably work. Remember, if our isolated radical equals a negative number, that's when we'd want to for sure double check that there's a solution. Okay, so now we're going to undo this radical, which we would accomplish by squaring both sides. So I'm going to square this side and also square the other side of the equal sign. All right, so over on this side, a square root and a square are inverse operations. They cancel each other out. So I'm going to be left with x minus 10. Over here, there's nothing I'm canceling out. I actually have to simplify that. 6 to the power of 2 is 36. All right, and then to continue getting x by itself, I would add 10 to each side. So x would be equal to 46, I think. Now I need to take that 46 and check it back into my original equation. So I'm just going to check to see if 46 actually works. So does negative 10 times the square root of 46 minus 10 actually equal negative 60? That is the question. So 46 minus 10 is 36. The square root of 36 is 6. Negative 10 times 6 is, in fact, negative 60. So because that checks out, we can be certain that that's our solution.